So before we get started, you guys, thanks for coming up, and hopefully you guys will learn some cool stuff. It's been a while since we've done this here at the factory. You know, we used to have a Train in the Rain series 5 or 6 years ago that we used to do. So this is the first time that we've done it in probably 5 years. So I just want to introduce you guys to Alex Camara. Alex is the CEO of AudioControl here. So
thank you. I just want to say 2 minutes. I mean, this is just unbelievable. I mean, this is you know everyone's had long days, everyone's had long weeks, and you guys are here and you ladies are here, and it's just fantastic. Okay, this is the first of this series of Train in the Rains. You are the guinea pigs, as Chris said. But this is just really awesome. We got so much we're doing on 12 volts, so much we've been busy on in product development. The engineers, are you there still?
Yeah, right. There we are.
No, they are actually, but you know, we're doing so much on the 12 volt side at the moment. We're so excited about it. Chris is leading a ton of the charge at the moment for us. We are just going on all cylinders, and we've seen many of you recently as well, I think, at different events. So, thank you for being here. Okay, we want to do this for you. We want to make your lives easier. We want music to sound even greater than it does today. So, with that, have a great evening. Really appreciate you giving me time. Okay, this is valuable time. Yeah, I'm heading home now, so I'll see you now. I'll be staying for the evening, so great. So thank you again, really appreciate it, All
right, who got to listen to the Mercedes? Yeah? All right, so just first off, I want to say thanks to Jeremy, because I was traveling last week, and Thursday night he texted and said, hey, this car sounds really good, I'd like to take it down to have it judged, and so he came back and I got to see this for the first time this morning. So it actually placed in, what was it? Expert class, first place. Thanks. So that's the the inaugural outing. Jeremy got to tune it, and so first off, thanks Jeremy for all the help over the last couple of weeks. The team in Linwood actually a week and a half ago or so like that helped us with another project that is going to be coming, and we're going to talk about it tonight. A really exciting project, so thanks for your help on that too. And my car looks good. So, all right, so just so everybody knows, my name is Chris Bennett. I'm the Director of Mobile Products here at AudioControl. That is my email address, and that is my personal cell phone number. I give out my cell phone number, and you guys are more than welcome to hit me up with any OE integration questions, needs, anything like that. We at AudioControl here, the engineering, Alex, we live, eat, and breathe this stuff. We care. There was recently somebody asked me why I would give out my cell phone number. It's because I'm an old retailer, and I've been in the Bay at 1 o'clock in the morning trying to figure something out, and I've been in your shoes before, and the last thing I want for you guys is to have some kind of an issue that's holding you up, keeping you from delivering a car. So that's my cell phone number. Feel free to use it. All right. Also, if there's social media guys, AudioControl does have a dealer and rep group on Facebook, and so feel free to go ahead and look for AudioControl dealer and rep group. You can get in there. If you have questions, you can ask there. Don't blatantly slander anything. Before you blatantly slander something on social media, again, there's my cell phone number. All right, and I am available to you guys. If you talk to me and you want to do it, then do it. But don't do it unless you talk to me first and ask me the questions, because chances are we have the solutions for you with whatever integration issue you guys are running into, okay? So a lot of cool stuff that we're going to go over tonight. Again, thanks for being here. So tonight we're going to be going over the AudioControl amplifiers, why they are special. We're going to show you guys the new DM-RTA test tool, which is really cool. Sean, last week we went and did some trainings in Colorado, and all the trainings that we did on it at Knowledge Fest and everything else, we have well over 400 pre-sold already, so you're going to get to see the live demonstration and get an idea of what it is, how it works, and why it's going to be so beneficial to pretty much any tech out there, whether you work in the home audio space, car audio space, or pro sound. So then we're going to talk about the new ACM series amplifiers. So there's a couple of you that have them in here. So I'll probably reach out to you and ask you what your thoughts are on them. We're going to talk about updates, because believe it or not, AudioControl is very much not just an audio company. And those of you who went on a tour saw what we do on the home side of audio, more so on the factory floor. But we have kind of become a software company almost, in that we are constantly working on improving the software in all of the products, the DM processors, the D4800, now shipping the new D61200 amplifier, a Maestro, and we'll talk all about that stuff in depth so you guys can feel comfortable with it and know what you're getting into when you start looking at the ability to have $4,000 systems using Maestro that you can power, ground, T-harness in, and be able to deliver, you know, $4,000 tickets in a single day. You know, so that's a really powerful thing that we've worked towards. We've been working on that for well over a year, and it's always interesting when you have basically two different software companies, and then all of a sudden you're doing these, and then you have to go bink and make it all interact together. And so all of that testing over the last few months is just so you guys can get a product that is bulletproof. When you plug in, you know it's going to work, and be able to deliver those vehicles on time. So before we really get started on the product side, there's two things that are very important, all right? And one of them is AccuBase, and one of them is the epicenter. So there's a lot of people who feel kind of, you know, how many people sell LC2Is? Right? Thank you, because we build a lot of them, and so we need you guys to do that. The LC2I is really what solidified us into late model vehicles and being the integration experts. And one of the things was AccuBase. All right, so we're not going to spend, this is just kind of audio basics portion of this. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it. But the LC2I was a product that we added this AccuBase circuit onto. And AccuBase, if anybody's installed something that had AccuBase and you thought, oh, well, you know, it makes it this or it makes it that, the reality is AccuBase just gives you the ability to add gain structure beyond a threshold. It doesn't create new bass, all right? It just gives you the ability beyond a certain volume range to increase the bass, all right? And the reason that's so important is all the factory systems, you know, you guys, a lot of you guys have been installing longer than 15 years, right?
Yeah.
So 15 years ago, we started seeing speed sense in cars, right? 15, almost 20 years ago now, they started adding speed sense. So as you drove faster, they could turn down the volume and all that stuff. Well, shortly after that, they realized, hey, as they turn up the volume, I want to decrease the bass. And cars now, all of you guys who were installers for, you know, 15, 20 years ago, how many speakers did we replace all the time back in the day when you were a retailer? I mean, almost every day a customer would come in with a blown speaker, right? How often do you see that with factory cars now? Not nearly as much as you used to, right? And so it has to do with bass equalization and the ability to, in software, turn the bass down as you're turning the volume up. So when a customer comes to you guys and they're buying, you know, a $1,000 or $1,200 bass package, and they're spending that money to get bass, you're letting the factory system still take it away. And that's what you should be using AccuBase for. When we do the live DSP demonstration, somebody here remind me please to show you how the AccuBase works on the DSP, because that's when you can see how easy it is to actually tune properly. So how many people sell LC2Is? How many people think that they tune every one of them properly with AccuBase?
Every time.
So that's an interesting thing for us, because we are making some updates to make sure that you know when AccuBase is active and stuff like that in all the products across the range. All right? And so that's all stuff that we'll be adding features onto stuff like the LC2I, any new products we come up with. In the DSPs, it's really easy to get in and set AccuBase. All right? So that is AccuBase. It's built into all of our OE products essentially at this point. All right? And it's important for you guys when you're doing those bass packages to use AccuBase so that whoever's spending money in your stores is getting the bass that they're paying you for. All right? Don't let the factory take the bass away. Use AccuBase. Fair enough? Yes. All right. Now, this is a graph that shows the epicenter circuit. All right. How many of you went and saw all those epicenters getting ready to be packaged up out there? Right? So, like I said, every day we're building 150 to 200 epicenters out there. All right? And this is why this is important. All right? The epicenter does create bass. And if you look at this graph, the blue line here is showing a piano key note played at 60 hertz. All right? And how it resonates. The epicenter creates bass note 1 octave lower based on this information that it's reading here. So it analyzes all this upper frequency stuff and says, hey, I'm going to create this. And that's why the epicenter has been, for 27 years, the most sought after processor ever. Right? So if you think about how many of those you just saw built, how many of them we sell a year for 27 years. Isn't that crazy? There's a lot of epicenters out there. We get epicenters back, Series 1 epicenters, that guys send us a note with and say, hey, can you please go over and check it out? It's going into my 6th car. You know, so they take it out, car after car after car, and they just want to make sure that it's still functioning just like it was the day they got it 20, 25 years ago. All right, so epicenter does create bass, and it creates bass 1 octave lower. You have the ability to tune how you want that bass provided. So that's why it's become so important. You know, how many of you guys do systems and then the customer comes and you find out that they listen to audio through YouTube or something like that, right? So they are somebody who can use AccuBass, any kind of crappy streaming or anything that they're doing. If they want that bass response, you can use an epicenter. There's cars out there like Meridian systems out there where none of the outputs will play below like 80 hertz, right? I see a lot of guys doing high-end Meridian systems with Range Rover, and they have to put an epicenter in because somebody's coming in to get subs, and they can't find any outputs that don't play below 80, right? So that's another reason why epicenter is very important. If you have any customers that listen to classic rock, that's the first thing you should think about if they're buying a 10 or a 12 from you, is, hey, they should have an epicenter if they really want to get the full effect of the 10 or the 12 that they're getting. All right? So that's kind of just some basics on the bass processing that we do here, why AudioControl has remained such an important integration piece, particularly for bass response. And tonight, we want to show you why we feel that AudioControl is probably one of the best amplifier companies out there now. All right? So one of the first things that we want to talk about is this brand new series of amplifiers called the ACM series amplifiers. All right? So, again, how many of you guys sell these? Right? So if you had one of these and you had somebody that came in for a bass package and they were buying a single 10 or a single 12 woofer from you, right? You would sell them one of these for how much? $100. $100. All right, so what if you had something that was just that much bigger in one SKU that had power and the LC2I built in? All right, that's what this is. This is the ACM 1300. All right, mono LC2I with 300 watts at 2 ohm. So it's perfect. The impedance is set up perfectly for you guys, for any customer with a single 10, single 12. They're coming in with a prefab, wanting a prefab box. Here's one SKU, one simple SKU that you can go into. You don't have to worry about daisy chaining product or anything like that. And this retails for 249 bucks. All right, so if you were selling them one of these for 100 bucks already, typically what kind of quality amplifier for mono would you sell that customer? If they're spending 100 bucks on this for $150, this is going to be a go-to for so many people out there. And somebody has one.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good amp. I ran it on low level first, tested it through there a couple months. Actually, it wasn't even a couple months. And then ran the high level. I didn't get a noticeable loss in sound quality either way. Yep. It was pretty solid. I still have it, still running it in one of my cars.
Yeah, one of the cool things with this too is this is even actually a little bit better than an LC2I because it does have high level and low level inputs. The high level inputs are the same as the LC2I. So all of the integration products that we do have separate high level and low level inputs. All right? Some companies call it speaker level and low level. All right, I call it high level and low level. And so what I want you guys to think about when you're using these amplifiers is to think about the high level as that input that can handle up to 40 volts of input. All right? If you ever use any of the amplifiers we're going to talk about and you just go, meh, it could have more power or something like that, chances are you have a factory head unit that is a low power non-amplified output. And if you actually check it and you find out that it's putting out 10 volts or lower, well, feel free to go ahead and go a low level in on a pigtail. Right? And so that way you can be assured the amplifier input section is getting the most power, because what does the amplifier section do? What does an amplifier do?
Oh, it amplifies.
It amplifies signal, right? So it's up to you to figure out what kind of signal strength you have and use the right input on all of the products, from the DM-810, the $1,000 D6-1200 amplifier, down to the $99 LC2i. All right? So don't think of those just, hey, I have a factory head unit, I'm going in speaker all the time. All right? There's a lot of applications where you have low output that you would benefit by going in straight to the low level inputs. All right? Yes?
Auto turn on?
Yes, GTO turn on all of them, so it's DC. It'll sense DC on the speaker level inputs. Yep. So the ACM1300 is a little kick-ass amplifier. Now, one of the awesome byproducts of this amplifier that is just the audio quality of it. Okay, so a lot of times you think of these micro amplifiers as having power, but they don't have the performance or strength. And I'm looking forward to a lot of builds, because what we did with this was we created what we felt was a modular approach to system design. So these are actually very high quality audio amplifiers. All right. And what I say by a modular approach to amplification is, if you're using something like this 6-channel, and you're using this on Flax or KX2s at 2 ohm, you're getting 200 watts RMS out of every one of these outputs. If you're doing an active 3-way setup, do your tweeters need 200 watts RMS? A lot of guys are like, yes. Right? So the modular approach to amplification is using the ACM series because of the quality of them, and actually doing system designs based on how much power you need for the system. So if you're doing an active setup, you could probably get away with doing one of the 4 channels with, you would get 75 watts RMS out of all 4 channels. If you're doing Flax 3-way setup, you can use one of these, and then you can maybe use one of the mono blocks that I just showed you for each mid. Right? Wouldn't that be a kick-ass design? So you could have 3 amplifiers just doing a 3-way front stage. So the modular approach to amplification is what kind of sets these apart. Out of curiosity, you guys, like this amplifier right here, how long is the warranty on this? Anybody know?
3 years.
There's a ticket involved if you have it, right?
3 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Oh,
5 years.
All right.
You give your ticket.
So all audio control products, from the $100 LC2i to the $1,000 D6-1200 amplifier, have a 5-year warranty, okay?
What's the over-the-counter warranty on it?
1.
So 1 year what you see over.
Yep. 1 year, and then because we do all the final assembly and production work and stuff here, after that it's a repair warranty.
Okay.
Now here's something that we don't really talk about much outside of these 4 walls. We started talking about it because Sean actually brought it up to me last week, and I shared with them. But everybody who works at AudioControl, every single person from Alex to me to somebody who packages for minimum wage, every 2 months we get a bonus as long as we meet certain criteria that are 3 things. All right, and this is a really cool thing that we do here. So it's awesome that Alex does this. He's an incredible guy because the bonus is coming up. No. The first criteria is how well we suck up. No. No, the first one of the priorities is there's only 3 things that set it apart as far as if we qualify for it or not. And one of them is repair warranty. All right, so if you have a repair that's sent in to us, we have 48 hours to turn and burn it. All right, if we don't, then we get marked down and we can lose 1/3 of bonus just for our warranty repair service. So that's how important it is that when you guys send a product to us, that from when it gets received, within 2 days, we are shipping it back out to you, 48 hours. Yes?
If it was a, like an urgent matter, could it be dropped off here with an RA?
Yes.
So we can drop it off directly without shipping it?
Actually, I brought in 2 RTAs yesterday.
Okay.
For somebody here who had a couple of them that wanted them calibrated. When I walked in the door this morning, the tech was bringing them back to my desk. So, I mean, we care, like, you know, it's always one thing, but, passion doesn't sell products, right? But we have so much passion for these that we want to make sure, you know, that you guys are out there talking about them in a beneficial way so that you guys can move them. I mean, we care that much that, you know, every 2 months we get a serious bonus. And since we implemented that program, we're not talking about chump change for bonuses. We're talking about, you know, what's been the payout of the bonuses since you started
Since
it?
you started the company, about 2.1 million.
Yeah.
How many years?
1 year. No. I wish. About 20 years.
Yeah, where do we send applications? I thought 4 years, so I was like,
Yeah. So I mean, it's important to us that we meet certain criteria, and out of the 3 things that we really care about, repair warranty is one of them. All right. All of the products and stuff that we do get listening tests. You know, how many? You know, the only reason that I'm talking about this was last week. We were doing trainings, and they were like, I don't even know how, like, if we've ever done a RA for audio control product. You know, so seriously, we have accounts that have stuff. Since we've switched everything over to, you know, like the smaller ACRs. ACRs were actually probably the old ACR before we shrunk them down. That was probably the only product that we really saw RAs for. And most of the time it was just because people were disassembling them and they're more fragile. You know, the ones that we have now are very robust. So we really have very, very little returns on any of the car audio products at all.
So guys, what's the warranty on all audio control
5 years.
products?
5 years.
Yep.
I need a ticket.
I wasn't paying attention who said it first.
So the ACM series is really cool, all right, and the first amplifier is that ACM 1300. All right, honestly, you guys, like, we want to sell these things for all that system design. But if you have that customer that's coming in and they have $600 for a base package, this is a great starting point because you have the LC2I, you have the AccuBase, you have the ability to sell something. If you're in sales and you sell this base package, you don't have to worry about the installer coming and grabbing the car, coming around and going, oh, you need, you know, you sold them a standard SNI 35, right? And it's going into a BMW. What happens when you put an SNI 35 in a BMW on the under-seat woofer?
Sounds great.
Right? And so when that happens, then you go to LC2I. If somebody's spending $600 with you, and then you have to call them back and tell them you need another $100 because they need a better line output converter, something that can handle the voltage, how much does that instill into them that you knew what you were doing? Anytime you have to call a customer back for an integration thing, it's usually a 15 to 20% increase in the ticket, right? So don't do it. Use an audio control product that has all of the stuff built in. All right, starting with this guy, you know, for $249, you don't have to worry about it if you're in sales. To worry about the installer coming up and going, dude, what are you doing? That's not going to work. You need, you know, don't do a line output converter on any late model European cars or, you know, anything that has a high voltage output. All right, so
How many of you guys have a problem selling LC2Is?
That's what I sell.
You it's a walk in the park for all you guys, pretty much. Okay, good.
yeah, it's become second nature. It's
Standard.
like, yeah, it's a standard practice at this point to sell an LC2I. You know, 3 years ago was a totally different story. You know what it reminded me of 3 years ago? Was when we first started doing GM interfaces, like DM-RTA, right? When I was a retailer, it was almost embarrassing because I would sell a harness for $12.95, right? Every harness was $12.95 up until, you know, 20 years ago. And all of a sudden, I'm selling a wiring harness to somebody for $79. It was embarrassing to me, right? Same with LC2Is. Everybody's like, well, I can't sell that because now you guys all have it. You guys know the spill. You know why it's important. you know that there's certain cars that you just can't do passive line output converters in, all right? And the real shops that are benefiting the most are guys who don't even bother. When I was a retailer, I always had to have 24 LOCs, always. That was just like my rule. If I got close to even 11, I thought it was going to be the end of the world. And now more and more retailers are like, hey, I need to have 12 LC2Is and 6 standard line output converters. So it's just become a go-to product. So thank you guys very much, and keep that up because the LC2I is rock solid. It's a proven piece. It does what nothing else on the market does. So it's important. So then you have the ACM 2300. So this guy right here is 2 by 300 or 2 by 150 at 2 ohm. All right. One of the things that I want to finish up on this 1300 though, which is really cool, is that this will play full range. All right. So if you are doing bikes and stuff like that, they have these cover plates that cover up the pods and crossovers. All right. So there's very little room for any dust intrusion. All right. You can see there. When you take the cover plate off, there is a bypass switch, so it will play full range. And it just so happens that this space will allow you to install these in fairings. Okay? So really cool in that it does that. And if you're using one of these on a bike, and say they're playing 10-inch full range drivers into the rear wheel, does it matter if you have left and right? You need power. So this little guy right here is going to give each one of those 10-inch full range drivers 150 watts RMS. All right, so really versatile in what it does. Then you have the 2300. So the same model, still has speaker level inputs and all that stuff. So that can be used for those big systems where you might want to use the mono for each mid and maybe a 2-channel for your mid-high, and then really cool little amplifiers. And I'm hoping to hear in the next couple of weeks a system that has 6 of these going into it. All right, so 6 of these. One of the 1300s for each 12 or 10, and then the rest will be modular approach to amplifying the highs. All right, so the 2300 is a cool little amplifier if you need 2 channels of amplification. And then there's the ACM 4300. All right, so this is 4 channels, 50 watts RMS at 4 ohm, 75 watts RMS, still has speaker level inputs and RCA inputs. All right, all the crossovers on all of them are bypassable. All right, now when I was a retailer and they started coming out with 5-channel amplifiers, how many people sold 5-channel amplifiers 20 years ago? One of my go-to for entry-level 5 channels was Alpine Flex 5, right? And they sucked. And I'll tell you why 5-channel amplifiers were not the best back in the day. Was single power supply, and anytime you were trying to get any bass out of them, the voltage rails would sag on the highs, right? And then your highs would distort and clip because all the energy is being sucked up by the bass response by a single power supply. And so that's why I personally was never a huge fan of 5 channels. All right? Now, as a salesperson and as a retailer, why I didn't like 5 channels was what happens 3 or 4 months or even 2 weeks after you install a 5-channel if the customer wants more.
Yeah, some new sub amp.
Right, and then you have a dead channel. So you have somebody who spent money with you that is not getting the full benefit of it. Right? So, or, if it's within a week or so, a lot of places might even take back that one and sell them a bigger 5-channel. All right, so what we thought about with this was trying to give you guys a 5-channel that was upgradable, right? So all you have to do is take one of these ACM 300s, right, and the ACM 4300, and you can mount them together like this, and then there's a 5-channel cover plate that goes over the top. And now you have your 5-channel amplifier that has 2 separate power supplies and is completely upgradable, right? So you get the 2 amplifiers, you can stack them like this, put the cover plate on, and then as a salesperson, when you deliver it, you tell the customer, hey, your system sounds awesome. By the way, if you ever want to double the power to your front stage and add more bass, come back and see us. All right, how many of you guys have heard over the last couple years that car audio is technically not growing? Right? We're supposedly on a slowdown. I see more and more and more stores and retailers that have a week to 3 week wait. Right? It's because they're thinking more and doing smarter stuff to get the customer engaged and back. Right? So you have to be thinking about how to plant seeds to get that customer to come back and see you guys. All right? This is a great, everything that I'm going to show you is built with a purpose, not only for integration, but also to give you the means to tell the customer, when you're ready for your next upgrade, come back and see us. All right? And this series is very much all about that. So what happens, what is this called? All right? What if you put two of them together like that?
Very efficient.
Right? So you have heat. All right? But what I want to show you is that this back portion is actually more surface area and part of the sink. If you listen to that, that is the sink. So what you can do is put them both like this, and the cover plate goes over it here, and you can flip the mounts and mount it so the heat sink is up. All right? So another thing that makes these really versatile. Another cool thing about that is you can flush them into panels. Right? So you get a custom look with entry-level amplifiers that you don't have to do a bunch of custom labor on. If you're building a box, all you have to do is a beauty panel with a 2-inch offset, a square hole, and you can mount the amplifiers flushed in. So you have that custom look without doing tons of custom labor. Right?
Here's a question.
Yeah.
On that kind of what you were just talking about, flushing it into a box.
Yep.
Are you going to make a plate to go on the back side of that? Or can you take that top plate and flip it to the back side?
All of them flip to the back, so it's the same hole pattern.
Even the single.
Yes.
Nice.
Yep. So even right now, the cover plates are coming in this week, and people are just taking, when they do them like that, you just take this one. You have to take it off to do your crossovers anyway. Just flip one.
CJ must have been on the design team, because that was like,
Yeah.
that was the exact conversation we had a year ago.
Prompted. Yeah. You know, so these are all, I mean, just really versatile. It doesn't matter how you mount them. The whole idea with this whole series is that modular approach, right? So one of the things that I saw in the marketplace was a lot of DSP amplifiers that were small footprint and they lacked power, right?
Yeah.
Right? So over the last 5 years or so, there's been a brand out there that had DSP amplifiers that were very, very slight output, like really low output. You know, we don't want to give you guys, if you're doing a DSP, you want power. Let's not forget what your customers want. Your customers want louder, cleaner systems that don't fail and play loud. Am I correct? Right? That's just so we're all clear, that's 95% of our market, right? Now, we're doing a ton with high quality audio and stuff like that. But let's not forget who the customer is that we're trying to reach. Louder, cleaner, dynamic systems, right? And that's 95% of what we want to do, and that's why AudioControl wants to give you all that power. All right? So if you need that application where you need a full-fledged DSP, check this out. You have the DM-608, right? Really powerful, 6 input, 8 output. And what if you wanted 8 channels of amplification? It's the exact same footprint. So you can stack with this 6x8 DSP multiple amplifiers in the same footprint, so you have a very small space with full-fledged DSP and amplification. And it can be real amplification. All right? If you have a factory location in a trunk and it's a car, you can actually remove the factory amplifier. You can stack 2 of them this way too, right? And then use the factory brackets if you can remove the factory amplifier. All right? So it'll still have room to get behind a panel or something like that. All right?
Now with the 301, can those 2 amps be strapped together?
No.
Okay.
No. We probably could have done it, but it would have probably added like, you know, $150 or something worth of engineering to each one. So these are really, like I'm saying, you know, if you're doing that full-fledged modular approach, then use these amplifiers with a DSP. Because the crossovers and stuff like that for that simple bass package install don't have to be dynamic. You know, it's off 80, 120. right? But if you are doing that full system with the modular approach where you're using an amplifier per channel or something like that, then you just turn the crossovers off, use your DSP, and just get the power out of them. Make sense? So as you can see here, some of the applications and how to do it, the cover plates, you flip them, stack them, you know, whatever you need for that application, all right? Anybody think those are cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the systems that are going to be done with these because they truly are small and for their size will exceed your expectations.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised
You,
at the output.
you've done one?
I put one in, I didn't think it was gonna be that loud, but it would be. I was really,
Yeah.
yeah, it blew me away. Yeah.
I haven't had anybody yet tell me that they were not just like blown away by the quality of the audio and the power of these amplifiers.
That little 301, you said it was good for 2 ohm or 1 ohm?
2 ohm.
Okay.
2 ohm. Yep. They are little beasts, as a lot of people call them.
I think it's underrated.
Yeah.
It is. It is. And you know they run good. They do run hot, but they are golden. I mean, I haven't had. You know, we've been shipping them. How long have we been shipping these guys now?
Oh, 6, 8 months. The first one originally. But
Yeah. Yeah. All right, now.
The ones in engineering can go for like probably 18 months.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're really cool amplifiers. We're just now starting to see tons and tons of momentum with them. I mean, more and more guys are just looking at them as a go-to piece, starting with that entry-level bass package. And the cool thing about AudioControl is all these products are thought out to be really perfect for pretty much, it doesn't matter what kind of retailer you are. All right, so, you know, I get to travel all over the country and stuff like that. I go to boutique shops, all right? And these are shops that maybe touch 8 to 10 cars a month, all right? So they're, you know, I was in a shop like 8 months ago now, and I remember standing there, I'm talking to the owner, so a customer walks in, the sales guy is talking to him about the system design, blah, blah, blah. He's like 45 minutes in, writes up a ticket for him, $8,500. The guy's like, sounds great, let's do it. And the guy goes, yep, we can get you in 3 weeks. And I was like, because as an old retailer, I'd been like, hey, let me get you a rental car, like just give me your keys, I'll get that dialed in, you know. You know, there's a lot of shops. The cool thing with AudioControl products is that for those shops, I get to be their entry level, you know? And for mass shops that just move product in boxes, do a lot of bass packages, stuff like that, I can be their high end, right? And so AudioControl is bridging the audio gap as far as price point, power, and features. All right, so we're never going to be, you know, not good quality, so we're never going to be that price point, you know? I was told once, there are no bad products, there's only bad prices. All right, so we fill the gap, the audio gap. You know, it reminds me of like, if you go to Costco and you buy a TV, right? People go to Costco, they buy a TV, they stick it up on the wall, they turn it on, and they listen to it and go, oh man, that sounds awful. And then they go back to Costco and they buy a sound bar. And they plug it in and they go, oh man, that sounds incredible. It doesn't sound incredible. It just sounds better than what you had, right? And that has to do with the audio gap. And then all of a sudden you have you know, AudioControl being built by a custom installer system that could be $100,000, right? There's this huge audio gap that doesn't get filled. And with AudioControl products, we fill those gaps. We say, hey, you know what? We're going to be this to this. This series is a good testament to that, all right? If you just need the cheapest bass amplifier out there, can you find them cheaper? Heck yeah. But can you find them with the features, functions, warranty? Anytime we do a product, the 5 criteria are power, price, performance, features, and warranty. All right? If one of those isn't going to be held up, we don't make the product. So all of these, the ACM series amplifiers are all part of that strategy.
I hate to go backwards again.
You're good.
Micro. I never looked at it really. Does it have a bass knob port?
That is a great, great question. So this ACM 1300 does not.
Okay.
Okay. However, we have what? 1,500 of them back there that do have it. We have about 200 left that don't have it. All right. As soon as we get through those, you will see them with the ACR plugin.
Okay, there you go.
So we have it. We will ship it as soon. If we come out too early and say it's all on there, it's going to be hard to move the last 200 pieces of the other one.
Right.
All right, so we're working on it. We have them available to you, so that the mono will have.
Ship them East Coast.
Mexico. So, Chris,
Yes.
will we do a price increase on that, or will it just fold in with the ports?
You know, it's important to us, obviously, as a U.S. manufacturer. You know, we are sourcing stuff from China, right? Everybody is. All the products have Chinese parts or Chinese boards or something like that. So tariffs are a real issue for all of us. As you all know, starting last month, there was other manufacturers that already hit price increases. Starting on the 1st of November, there's several manufacturers, almost most of the other 12-volt manufacturers were. We are working to absorb those costs until the 1st of the year to see what happens. If the next step comes, everybody in 12 volts will see a price increase across the board, pretty much every manufacturer. So, you know, right now we are trying to hold off on doing any price increases. We're absorbing the tariff for now. Do you have any comments on that, Alex?
Yeah, just to emphasize, we're a US manufacturer. Yes, the amps, probably 80% of the amp comes from China, but we're a US manufacturer, but our components in the products we make here in the factory today, which come from Asia, get tariffed. So even though we're a US manufacturer, we actually get tariffed for building in the US. So it's a little frustrating. Just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But it's,
So
but we are,
right now we are
trying to absorb as much as we can until that point comes. Yeah.
Yes, and hopefully we'll see what happens. But you know, we are right now taking that cost, so we don't foresee having to do any price increases until January 1st, and waiting to see what happens with the next level of tariffs.
So if everyone could just favor give us $8.99 for the Mexican tonight, that would be great.
All right, so the LC series of amplifiers, guys, we've been shipping this for about 2 years. Incredible. If you listen to my car or the Mercedes-Benz down there, actually all the highs are driven with this guy right here in both of those cars down there. So, was anybody impressed by those cars? The audio quality, right? Yep. The audio quality that you get with this series of amplifiers is stupid ridiculous for the price. Remember I said we sell a lot to boutique shops that maybe, you know, we might be their entry-level amplifier. Our #1 complaint from those type of retailers is we're too inexpensive, right? And I will lose sales because they're selling $12.99 amplifiers all day long, $1,299, and this guy retails for $499. Now, they will tell me straight up, dude, that amplifier, they sound amazing. They're dynamic. I did training with another manufacturer out there who has, I believe, these amplifiers are some of the best sounding Class D amplifiers that have ever been made. I mean, without a doubt, golden ears can't tell this amplifier apart from a good Class AB. So this is a really important amplifier that kind of got us on the right track with multi-channel amplification with lots of power, right? So the ideal with this guy right here is that this has all the integration built into it too. Another amplifier that it doesn't matter if you're in sales, if you sell it to somebody with a factory radio, a factory amplified radio, or an aftermarket, you're going to get outstanding results and lots of power. All right, that fits right in with what we want to sell our customers, right? Power, price, performance. Okay, and this has it all built in. Now the really cool, unique thing about this amplifier is, I believe, without having a DSP, this is the only amplifier on the market that you can sum directly into. All right, so this 4-channel amplifier has 6 speaker level inputs. All right, so you can sum directly into it, very much like our LC7i. Right? How many of you guys sell LC7is?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. LC7i is built into it. But it's an LC7i with something really cool. And this very first pot right here is actually not an output pot. That is an input level pre-sum controller on a single channel. So it's an input level controller that you have the ability to go through and adjust attenuate or gain one of the inputs before it gets summed in with the other ones. Is there any idea
why we do that, Chris?
Is there any thought process on why 2 years ago, when we started designing and building these things, we thought to put an input level controller?
Chimes and any sound that comes through the factory speakers.
Yes, chimes. That was its initial reason was, what happens if you replace factory speakers and put 2 ohm drivers in a car and you feed them 200 watts with a GM door chime? Yeah. And then what happens when the customer is annoyed? What do?
Just take it out.
You turn the gains all the way down, right? So again, now you sold the customer all this power that they can't benefit from because the chime is blowing them out of the car. All right?
How often does that happen? Never?
Now?
I haven't seen that in 2 years or so.
Yeah. Well, that's why it was created. But let me tell you some of the cool stuff that you can do. How many of you guys are installers? How many of you guys get paid on piecework? Okay. So, if you're installing one of the LC amplifiers, all right, and you happen to notice that the customer has a radar detector that has a 3.5 in it, you should get with them, call them back and say, hey, I want to put the audio warning chimes from your radar to come through your speakers because you're going to have such a loud system when you're driving down the freeway at 85 miles an hour, you might not hear your little tiny crappy speaker that's built into your radar. So you plug in a 3.5 to the radar, you drop it down, you come into that input which is labeled front high right here, front high, and now you have a level controller so you can adjust how loud the warning chimes pipe into the audio system and sum into it. All right? And there's a lot of shops that are using these for a lot of exotic cars and doing just that. You know? How much are guys with exotics spending on radar?
A lot.
It's actually a really easy upgrade to put one of our amplifiers in and run them, you know, and actually use that as part of that integration. So it's a really cool feature that a lot of boutique stores have come alongside with and use these amplifiers to sum in. You can also do that with the D6 1200. Don't get pigeonholed into thinking that this amplifier is mostly an integration and only an LC7i with an amplifier, because it's not. Power, price, performance, features, warranty. It doesn't matter if you're using all the summing capabilities or any of that. It's all there and ready for you. And again, if you listen to it in those 2 cars, you know these are performers, right? I've been listening to, my car's been done for like 2.5 years almost with prototypes of these, and it's still, you know, just sounding incredible, dynamic, rich, powerful, all the features that your customers want right here for $499 bucks.
With a 5-year warranty.
With a 5-year warranty. Now, remember we talked about AccuBase, right? Well, this is another thing that's actually built into this amplifier. So you have a customer who already bought a base package from you, right? So 6 months ago they came in, they got an amp and sub from you, you installed it, it sounds good. And you planted a seed to them, or they were so happy they come back to you for the next upgrade. They come back to you and what do they usually say? I need some new speakers. That's what they always say when I was a retailer. I need some new speakers. And then you have to explain to them, hey, I can give you new speakers, but if you're still not amplifying them, you're not going to end up with any more output. You might end up with a little bit of crispy highs, but you ain't getting any more volume out of it, right? So you have to explain them. Well, this should be your go-to add-on piece, even if you retain the factory speakers, because you have a line output built into all the LC series amplifiers that adds AccuBase to that downstream base package they already bought. So now you have the ability to have all your integration, good power, and then you can add AccuBase processing onto their existing base package already. So that makes it another reason why when customers come back, you can exceed their expectations and say, hey, you know what, not only can I give you an amplifier for your highs, but I can actually help you increase at higher volumes your bass response because this has AccuBase processing on it. All right, so another reason why this should be a go-to amplifier for you. How many people have done these? Right? Yeah, I want to give Josh some props because he's been doing a lot of these. It means a lot, so thank you, man. The 6-channel, I know it's becoming like your go-to amplifier. So, so let's talk about the 6-channel.
Does that have a crossover bypass like the ACM?
It does not, but what you have to do is on the crossovers, you just have to put high pass on from 30 up and then dial them all the way open, and they'll play full range. Okay. The LC61200 is the next amplifier that really is something that just performs beyond what we even anticipated when we built it. So this guy right here has all those same features and then some, because it's an analog summing device as well, but you can pick and choose how you actually sum. All right, which is really something that is not typical in even most analog summing devices. If I can get the cover off. And you can see here that when you look at the amplifier and you look at it, how many 6-channel amplifiers have all of that? Right? That tells you that this thing does a lot of really cool special stuff. All right? First off, what's one of the first things that you notice here? Yeah. So these are these are really for highs. These things have tons of power. Josh, do you want to say anything about a few of these that you've done?
They were pretty surprising, especially the first one, especially. But I do a lot of, when I'm doing OEM integration, I am using these amps quite a bit. And since a lot of newer cars have 3-way, front stages, this is a really great amp. So.
Yeah. One of the cool things with this is that this actually has 8 speaker level inputs. All right. Why is 8 a magic number with a lot of late model cars when you're doing summing and integration? Any ideas? You can maintain fader for your customers. In almost like 90% of the applications that you're using this as your integration piece, you can still maintain rear fill. So if you're coming into this with 6-channel, say you're doing a BMW, right? You have your tweeter, 4-inch, and underseat woofer. You can actually sum those 3 together just by flipping one switch, and that sums all of this audio rail, but you still have this standalone one, so you can do rear fill. And if you're adding on a separate sub amplifier, you have your 8 inputs there, then you have an output, you go to a downstream sub amplifier, and all your bass and stuff is all there ready to go. All right, so really powerful amplifiers. When you're talking about the 6-channel, the cool thing that makes this special to me is that this amplifier should be your go-to 5-channel because it has all the integration and stuff like that built into it. If you're just using standard 4-ohm drivers, you're getting 125 watts by 4 and 400 watts at 4-ohm bridged. All right, so isn't that just about the right amount of power that you would need to do a basic 5-channel amplifier with integrations, right? But again, what I love about that is that same thing. You have your keys and you hand them to the customer and go, oh man, your system's dialed in, it sounds fantastic. When you're ready for the next upgrade, we can double the power to your front speakers and add a sub amp, right? That's it, that's it. That's all you have to do is tell them that. And now they're thinking about it like, man, my highs sound really good, but maybe I want a little bit more than that 400 watts.
Hey Chris,
Yep.
Real quick. Is the width on the ACM the same as the height or depth on the LCs?
Oh, I don't know. I never looked at that. I'll tell you in a second. Nope. No, it's not. But most guys, I've seen a lot of guys that are using this for active 3-way. For active 3-way, and I'm seeing more and more of these guys attached too. This is, if you guys are on social media, anybody pay attention to 5-Star Car Audio videos? Man, they're doing so many cool installations with this combos. DSP, this amplifier, and they're using like the 2300 for rear fill for some of those applications and stuff. Just really, really cool build.
On the question of social media, just out of interest, who watches Car Audio Fabrication with Mark? Guys, you got to watch it. Yeah, it's incredible. Chris,
Does it do it in California or no?
Where is he?
He's in Illinois.
Oh,
But, yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, I'll tell you a little background. So we work with him. You know, car audio fabrication is really cool. He's an engineer. He actually engineered for shipping containers and stuff like that. Just had a love for audio. Went to Mobile Solutions a few times, became friends with them, and started a channel. 3 months ago, he was able to quit his engineering job, and all he does is car audio build videos. He has 310,000 people that are following him now.
But it's a great channel just for, it's fun. I mean, I watch it.
Yeah, and so he's a good guy, and he's actually helped our industry by showcasing higher end builds that are not, you know, giveaway builds or anything like that. And he instills, I think, through his videos, the fact that we deserve to be a high-end industry that is creating products that exceed customers' expectations. That's my little spiel for him. So, and he's just a cool guy. So this guy is the 6-channel is really cool. Now there's other unique features that set it apart, and this is built into the LC4800 as well. One of the cool things, if you're using this for a 5-channel amplifier, okay, all you have to do is plug in your ACR1 controller and then engage it by flipping this switch right here. And now your ACR controller will only use, for level control, output 5 and 6 for your subwoofer. All right? Or if that customer already had a factory system with a sub package, when you plug in the ACR controller, it only works the line output. By flipping that switch, you engage AccuBase and the ACR so you can use it in 5-channel mode. But what's really cool, and as a byproduct, is that these amplifiers, you will never have to use an RCA Y connector ever. All right? This is really cool. You can actually go through, and if you think about each one of these as a audio rail, all right? So it's an audio bus, it holds audio on it, and you actually flip the switches, it populates all of them. And that's part of the summing feature. All right? So you can sum the inputs, only have to plug in a single stereo input, and it'll populate all the outputs. So a single RCA or speaker input that plays full range will populate all your outputs, as well as the pass-through. That is a cool feature for anybody who has maybe a hot rod, right, and they don't want to cut their dash up. You can get them into a Bluetooth piece, right? They can pair their phone, use the ACR1 as a master volume control, and all you have is a master volume control for the whole audio system, using a single RCA out of a Bluetooth device. Yes?
So you said that you can use one in from the speaker. Will that do mono or stereo? Doing
stereo. One stereo input, whether low level or high level.
No, I'm saying like, so okay, so if I just hook up one speaker to it, so I won't need left and right to, I won't have to hook
You can, you'll have to go in the left side if you want the GTO to work though.
Yeah.
So left input triggers GTO, and then that can sum. It won't populate the number 1 right side output, but it will populate the, you know, everything on that left side. So you can daisy chain or loop it in if you were literally looking at a mono input. All right, but yeah, stereo has to be populated there or there. All right, in order to populate all the outputs. So
which all Bluetooth things.
Really, yep.
So the ACR one uses it will control the line output, right?
Yes.
The AccuBase, is it still full range or is it just
it is full range. Yep. Here's a unique thing, and you know, because like I said, as far as the signal routing goes, okay. So I'm going to tell you guys all the wonderful, incredible, cool things about the amplifiers, but I'm going to tell you something right now that's important. If you are actually using channels 5 and 6, all right, on this amplifier, and maybe Josh doesn't even know this, and you turn on AccuBase, it actually triggers and pulls signal from 1 and 2 input. Okay, this is important. If you're using this amplifier as a 5-channel amp and you want AccuBase and ACR control for those channels, remember to make sure you have bass frequency response going into your front inputs. The amplifier is not bad. I get calls and guys are like, hey, I need an RA for this amp because channels 5 and 6 don't play. And I'll go, okay, we're using AccuBase and the ACR controller for 5 and 6, and they go, yeah. And I go, well, chances are you were coming into 1 and 2 with tweeter, and it can't give you bass output because it's pulling from 1 and 2. So when you actually flip that switch, it pulls from here. Simple fix, swap your inputs. Chances are you're losing fader anyways in the sum on the 4 channel. On this one, you're going to have to lose the fading capability. So all you have to do is take that subwoofer, unless it has a separate subwoofer. You won't have to lose it that way because you can actually plug the subwoofer in and then come in on 3 and 4 with mid-range. All right? So that's an important thing to remember when you're doing this amplifier. We test all these amplifiers, we listen to them. Alex knows this amplifier right here, for the listening test alone, so this is after it's assembled and it's ready to go into packaging, listening test takes 11 minutes. We listen to every single output and flip every switch to make sure it functions. All right, so when you get it, you can be assured it's working. All right.
Is that just on the high level side, or is that on the low level RCA input also?
The audio rails are tied together, low level and high level. So it's basically the same. The only thing that you have to remember, the difference between high level and low level is analog padding, so to speak. So that's why we can handle that voltage range. So it just actually takes that high level and pads it down so that the amplifier can make the most out of it. Okay. So all of these products, some of the cool other things that you can do is with summing capabilities. What if you had like one of these 24 speaker systems that were, you needed more than 8 inputs to get full range, or you wanted to keep fader? Here's a unique thing that you can do. If you have one of those big systems, maybe you want to use 6 channels on the front input, you can actually use like an LC6i for the rear and then go into low level. So you can mix high level and low level inputs on all of these. I was showing my car to somebody, I was showing them on the, to do my 11 active channels, I use an LC6i in that going into the DM-810. So I can actually show people all 11 active channels just like from the factory, just amplified and re-EQ'd. Yeah.
Is that listening test on all products?
Yes, even the LC2i. Yeah.
What's the other phone call you get about 5 and 6?
The other phone call that I get about 5 and 6 is I need an RA because 5 and 6 don't work. And then it's usually like the shop owner or something like that. And I'll go, okay, is the car still there? And he goes, yeah. I go, ask the tech if he's bridging to inner pins. And then chances are he'll be like, let me check. And then he won't call back. Right? So remember to read the owner's manual because they're funny. Right? We actually, Steve, the guy who writes most of the manuals, if you haven't caught up with any audio control sense of humor, just read one of our owner's manuals. All right?
That mixing of high and low level, does that apply to the 4.800 as well?
Yes. Yep. You can definitely mix those as well. And they will actually sum over the top of each other, so you have to be mindful of what you're doing. Nobody wants garbage, right? So let's make sure that we're keeping all those and assigning them properly. So AccuBase, no Y connectors are ever needed, 125 watts. Cool thing about upgrading this guy, if you sell it as a 5-channel and you plant that seed, hey, by the way, when you're ready for the next upgrade, come back and see us. We can go a 3-way front active with this, so you do have high pass, band pass, and low pass. All right, so it's a great 3-way active front stage amplifier as well. All right, upgradable. It can do stuff that I promise you guys, not only will these exceed your expectations, but this amplifier does so much more than any analog product on the market next to a full-fledged DSP. There is nothing on the market that does everything that this amplifier does unless it's a full-fledged DSP. All right?
Chris?
Yep.
Can you run bandpass on each channel of output?
Only on 3 and 4.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there subsonic on it too?
There is, but I'd have to check out what it is. I think it's like built in, and I believe it's 24.
Default period, not adjustable.
Not adjustable. Jeez, that was a toughie. Did I answer correctly? It's either 27, 24, something like that. All right, now again. Now this is where it gets really cool. Again, if you guys thought that ACM 1300 is cool, that guy right there is incredible. The LC1800 is a beast of a 800 watt amplifier. We did the trainings last week. There was a store in Colorado. How many of them did they sell in 2 months? 15. 16 units. Just one store. 16 of those in 2 months. I wanted to buy cupcakes for him or something. I was excited to meet him. I told him, I'm like, whoever, I want to know who these guys are from that store. I want to shake their hand and say thanks, because that's probably, as far as you know, a regional store, they by far with that sales have been incredible. And that's probably one sales guy who sold it and was like, damn. Right? So the LC1800 is a $399 LC2I with 800 watts of RMS power at 2 ohm. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, you got somebody who wants some good bass output. That right there, this is honest to goodness true story. Knowledge Fest just passed, and not this Knowledge Fest. Was it the Knowledge Fest before, Alex? Do you remember that? The one before, Mobile Sound Systems built that Mercedes down there.
Well, last year, you're right, last year's one, yeah.
That 1-800 that's in the Mercedes down there is a prototype. It was one of the very first 2 that got built. When you do manufacturing, you build 2, and then you go through, make sure everything's cool, and then you build 10 pre-production units, go through, make sure everything's cool, and then you go into production. That is still one of the very first hand-built mock-ups of the LC1800. I listened to that car on those 2 Flax 12s. I got out on the show floor and was like, yes, yes, that thing kicks ass. If you haven't heard the bass response on that, it is loud, clean, linear, and solid. And that is from a $399 amplifier with a $100 LC2I built into it. I mean, if we can't sell that to our customers, you guys, every customer that's coming in with a prefab, you know, dual 10, dual 12 box, that should be your go-to. Again, you don't have to worry about, hey, it's factory amplified, or it's aftermarket. It just performs. All right? You got a 5-year warranty on it, a little beast of an amplifier. All right? Besides that car, has anybody sold those? Kevin.
Favorite amp to sell.
Thank you, man.
It's got tons and tons of power. So mostly I piggyback up for my DSP systems, but that's definitely my sub amp. Anything I've been able to throw at it has been completely brutal on it. And as you're talking about dynamic range, the linear accuracy, the transient response that you get out of your subwoofer seems to be a little bit more accurate too. It's there.
I'm not an engineer. I don't know what the hell it means. I don't know anything, but damping factor on that amplifier is 870.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what that means, but apparently for subwoofers it's important to our engineers. And I know it's impressive as all hell that it's that high. That means that it's going to play loud, stay clean, be linear, right? Not bad.
And it's, you know, it's an amp that is shipping every day. I mean, you know, we don't have any waiting time. You know, we're shipping these every day to guys who need them. So it's
1 ohm stable?
2 ohm. 2 ohm. One of the things that I would like to instill in you guys, this is everyday product, okay? This is everyday product that solves a solution that we saw in the marketplace with the AccuBase, high-level inputs, low-level inputs, stuff like that. You know, is there going to be that customer who, like, you know, whether he knows what the Ohm's law is or not, that has to have a 1 ohm amplifier? Probably. This is your everyday customer. This is, hey, I want some good bass output. I'm doing a pair of 10s, a pair of 12s. That's your amplifier right there. I promise you guys that thing won't let you down either. You know, we talk about our legacy and history and all that stuff. I have never, ever been so attached to products as I am of the LC amplifiers. Like seriously, that car right down there, just so you guys know, that was built in Texas. I love that car so much, I couldn't afford to buy it myself. It came up for sale, and I went to Alex, and I'm like, Alex, we have to have this car. I mean, it just sounds too good. The guy went to trade it in. The guy has a second retail location inside of a Mastercraft dealership. And he does tons of boats. And the guy is just sank, 130 grand into a boat and another 70 grand into a truck. And he's like, I can't keep this car. I don't need it. He went to go trade it in, and he called me, and he's like, Chris, well, he called me saying that he was going to sell it, and he gave me a price, and now he just went, right? And then he went to trade it in, and I went to Alex literally like 2.5 weeks ago, and was like, Alex, is it possible that AudioControl buy this car? Because it sounds too good. It has all the right product. It can be an amazing car that we can use for, anything here locally. And
that's
I never thought it would be something that we would be taking, but thank you, Jeremy, for prompting me and getting it down there.
Yeah. And by the way, it really is a car that we want to use in the area. I mean, we have it here. If you want it brought to your store, if you want to borrow it for a day to demo customers, I mean, that's why it's here. So please, there's probably 20 companies here today, so it's here for you guys to use. So
My car's got to go in for the shop. It's perfect.
yeah. It's not a rental. It's like yeah.
So that amplifier has been a great amplifier, but let's talk about its big brother, because this is really cool, and something that we've been shipping for maybe a month now is that guy right there, the LC-1500. All right, and here's my really cool story with that guy. Are you guys tired of my stories? Okay. The LC-1500, what are these called? How many are there?
3.
So if you look at that,
4 now.
That right there, right? At Knowledge Fest this year, I was standing right next to that banner with the very first 2 that were built on the LC-1500, and I kept on looking at them going, what is different? What is different? What is different about this? And then what did I do, Dan?
I don't remember.
I called Dan and was like, Dan?
Oh yeah.
How far along are we on the silk screen and everything else? Because it's fused at 160 amps now. So what happens is you do those 2 units, right? And then you build them. Well, the engineers built them and then powered them up, and they engineered it to be, hey, 120 amps should be sufficient for it and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, they had to put in another 40 amps of circuit protection. So they were seeing like, I think they said it was like 128 or something like that, just running. So you guys, that is a testament that those things are beefy, powerful amplifiers. That, they built it and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, these things exceed expectations. I think in testing so far, the least amount of power that we've seen RMS out of them is, one was like 1,628 watts. All right? But that's at 0.01 THD. All right, so it's actually, all of these are rated beyond CEA compliant ratings. Right, so these things have tons of power. So for that customer who has, a ton of bass output that is going to be a good, solid performing amplifier for you guys to use. All right.
Same chassis size as a six channel.
Yes. Yes. Talk about a kick-ass system, right? 3-way active front stage with that 1500 pushing a couple of high-power 12s. Yeah.
What's retail?
$699. Yeah. That's not bad. And in that price point, all the LC amplifiers, you guys, like when we started going out and talking to independent retailers, obviously, we've been the processing company, the EQ company, the epicenter company, all that stuff for 36 years or whatever it was, and with Alex and growing the company and everything else that's happened, all these products are such a huge increase. We've doubled the SKU mix, and they're all solutions-based products. And talk about a huge difference in what we're doing, Like, how many companies in 12 volt could say that they've doubled in size in the last 3 years, right? And it all has to do with these solutions and what we're doing here. So these are go-to amplifiers, you guys, that will exceed your expectations. So the LC-1500 is now available. Great amplifier.
That 2 ohm stable also?
2 ohm stable, yep. In order to get that rating, you know, you're going to be at 2 ohm, and like I said, that rating is based at 0.01 THD. So here's kind of in this chassis size the 6 amplifiers that you have to choose from, okay? So everything that we talked about so far, the LC-4800, great versatile amplifier with 6 speaker level inputs, great amplifier for three channel mode. You got somebody who's just buying, you know, $199 set of components, using passive crossovers, single 10, single 12. There's your amplifier right there. Single amp, you know, get them in, get them out. When we first started shipping them, one of the guys at the training in Spokane, he's like, oh yeah, I have one. And then I'm like, oh, what are you running on it? And then he was running, you remember the guy, Ryan. He was running Focal components and rear fill 6x9s on channels 1 and 2. So he's running 6 speakers on channels 1 and 2 of the LC-4800, and then the other channels bridged to a single 12. And I was just like, what? I'm like, how long have you had that? And he's like, oh man, I've been banging on this for like 4 months now. I'm like, I mean, talk about exceeding my expectations. 4-channel amplifier doing, you know, all 5 of those channels. So
Looking at that real quick, is it 3 of the same footprint? 3?
yes,
Okay.
exact same chassis. So, you know, really cool amplifiers that you can put side by side, and they're linear. They mount up nice together. And,
did you guys get rid of 2 amplifiers? The Epicenter 1200 and 600?
the Epicenter amplifiers are now discontinued. Yes. Yep.
And your reason?
The reason is that these amplifiers are a little bit of a, they're a lot of bit more power, first off. The Epicenter amplifiers were rated at 1 ohm, and everybody, almost everybody who did an Epicenter amplifier installed it with a prefab dual 12 box, and then we're like, meh, the power output could have been better.
I noticed that like you have to keep it on a higher frequency.
Yeah.
Because I want to get it to like 65 hertz, 80. I want to keep it to like 90 hertz to get most of the power out.
The real reason is just, seriously, it's power.
Chris,
Like,
it's not to say that we wouldn't revisit it again in the future, but at the moment the LC-1800 15 does everything you want. But yeah, you get so much choice.
when you look at the power output, and the price difference, so like the LC-1800 is $399 retail. All right, you get 800 watts at 2 ohm. If I was a retailer, I would not mind at all adding an Epicenter onto it, getting to the same price point, and you're actually delivering almost twice the power, right? And the Epicenter amplifiers are incredible amplifiers, same kind of real high ratings and all that stuff, but that Epicenter customer might not always be a customer who's buying a $600 base amplifier.
It's kind of a little niche market for having something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Does the LC-1800, on that pre-out, do you have any kind of switch to control the crossover output on the pre-out?
No, that actually might not be there. That's probably just a bit.
There's no
We'll have to check that. I don't think it doesn't have a pass-through. So you have the the multi-channel amplifiers here. These are your integration and amplification solutions, 4-channel, 6-channel. All right. The LC-1800, LC-1500 here, which is, you know, a great. So, you know, we see a lot of systems with one of those and one of those. There's a 5-channel amplifier, 1600 watts RMS, everything you need there. That is what you're hearing in both of the cars outside. You know, so for price point, you're not going to get any better sound quality than those guys. Now, here's where it starts getting really interesting, is the D4800 amplifier. This possibly could be, you know, the one amplifier that I think really sets us apart, because that, for the price difference, is a full-fledged standalone 6x6 DSP built into the LC4800 for $200 more. All right, so for $200 more retail, you get that 6x6 DSP that's built into it. All right, How many of you guys have access to a 6x6 DSP for 200 bucks? As a standalone, no. But now you have access when you start pairing it and thinking about amplification with it, right? So that right there is your integration piece, your DSP, and 4 channels of amplification. A 6x6 DSP, because that output can be processed to a downstream amplifier. All right, so really cool go-to amplifier that gives you all the features and functions of the LC 4800, but adds DSP to it. So, you know, on the other one, you guys were asking about crossover range and stuff like that on all the multi-channels. Well, with the DSP, it's all there digitally for you to control. All right. Then the D61200 is the brand new one. This thing is so cool because it has some really additional features that is not on the LC 4800. So this amplifier right here, I want to pass this thing around. And I want you guys to take a look at this right here and how much real estate, all the plugs and different things, you know, you have access to. The D61200 is an 8x8 DSP. Yes?
Is all of your DSP software the same?
It is. Remember I was saying we've kind of become a software company almost? We recently just rolled out the Unity platform. And the Unity platform is going to be the exact same look, feel, same. When it opens up, it looks exactly the same when you open it up on PC, Mac, Android, or iOS. All 4. It's exactly the same platform. All right, and we can show you guys that stuff too. So now you have the ability to have an 8x8 DSP with 6 channels of amplification with a downstream. So, you know, talk about some cool features built into it and powerful. Yes? It will have the AC BT24 plugin because it has something called the option port on it. Yep. So, and we'll talk about that. Yes?
Load resistors built in at all?
We're going to talk about load resistors because they're hugely important. If any product you guys have access to and they try to tell you load sensing or load generating, it's kind of BS. They plant resistors in there. Right now, almost all the product is 150 ohm. And if you're trying to use 150 ohm on a lot of stuff, it's irrelevant. Okay, and we'll talk about our LGDs and why you should use them regardless of whether the factory amp turns on or off. Okay, and that's going to be as many as installers that are in here. That should be a great topic that you guys will get a lot out of.
Yeah, because normally I use the resistance for the Dodge charging your cars.
Yep.
This is why I'm asking that.
Yeah. So let me explain to you guys. First off, we can handle up to 40 volts of input. If we build serious load on the inputs, if anybody does, and that's why nobody's done it in the marketplace. They all say they have load generating devices or load sensing devices. They can't do it properly. They can't, because what happens is if you generate that load, you have to dissipate the heat. All right? If you wanted to dissipate the heat properly with the proper load, you would probably need something this size. How many of you guys are going to be able to sell something this size just to generate a load and dissipate heat? All right, so we'll talk about that stuff, and it's really, really ridiculously important. So we want to get you guys the information you need. However, straight up, if you have any product that says it's built in, it doesn't sense it, and it doesn't generate shit. And we'll go over the LGDs and why they're important. All right. This is, to me, the most compelling 2 products you guys have access to for the price point, what you get, and what's available. All right? The D4800, the exact same footprint as the LC1800, that combo right there makes sense for you guys as retailers. All right? And it makes so much sense because it has the 6 speaker level inputs. You have that process pass-through for your downstream sub-amplifier, which has good power, dynamic range, everything you need for a sub-amp. And then you have the processor out of the 4800, 6x6 DSP with the true 1600 watts RMS. How many 5-channel of the amplifiers you guys selling right now has 1600 watts of RMS power output?
All of them.
All of them. I only do 1600 watt RMS 5 channels.
Can you time align the mono output?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Does the ACR3, can you set it up in the DSP so it can do volume and bass control on the sub channels?
We're gonna do that live. We're gonna show you. So I'll show you how to do it. And like I said, the user interface, I'll show you on the DM-810, but it's exactly the same as what you would do on the D4800 amplifier. It's exactly the same, super easy. There's a lot of uniqueness that you can do with these DSPs that you can. So, does anybody at all here think that is a compelling price point for what you're getting?
No.
What do you guys sell a good standalone DSP for?
$500-600.
Right. And then you have, you're adding on amplification and everything else, right? I mean, there's guys in here who are selling $1,499 processors all the time, right? So this is where it becomes really unique and compelling that you can get into a car with the 6-channel input, have 6x6 DSP for $1,200 retail. That kind of blows my mind when I think about it. $1,200 retail, you can get all that processing power and stuff for most of your customers. Look at that. All right, you guys. So this is where we're going to talk about load generating, and load sensing. Okay.
It's his first prize in the raffle tonight, LGD.
Yeah. This is the giveaway. Grand prize. And you only get one stereo channel. All right. So you guys, the LGD was not created to turn on Chrysler amplifiers. Sorry, it goes beyond that. And this is why this is really important. So pretty much all cars that have been made in the last 5 years start life the exact same way in their audio circuit. They all start with a chipset, right? And these are Class D audio chipsets that are like 1/4 watt of output, and then they just get amplified and amplified and amplified or whatever. All right. Now, what started happening a few years ago, starting probably 5 years ago, those factory amplifiers started to fall apart. And what I want you guys to think about is the resistive load is like, if I'm a football player, right, and I'm pushing on something, what happens if that person just backs away all of a sudden? You fall down, right? Amplifiers fall down. That's all they're doing. And luckily, with Chrysler, they just shut off altogether, so it makes you go, oh, I have a problem, I need a load, right? So you put a resistor on there, the amplifier turns on, you think you're golden, you're far from golden. How many people have done an install on a Chrysler with a Beat system? How many of you guys fought with noise floor in that? If you did one of those 4 years ago and you didn't fight noise floor, you're either lying or I don't know what happened. Or are you really, really, really ridiculously good with your EQ? So this was created to help the factory amplifiers become stable. The LGD was created to do to the audio signal what sound deadening does for a door panel. That's what it was created for. All right. So one of the first things that we started seeing, how many of you guys did Ford with Sync, Sony during Sync 1? Yeah. And how many blew tweeters in those cars? Right? Tweeters were, that's how this started. 4 years ago, tweeters started blowing all over the place. They weren't blowing, they were melting. Anybody seen melted tweeters 4 years ago?
Yeah, Sony's.
So what happens is you do an integration, use the factory amplifier. The factory amplifier starts to fall over because as you're turning up the volume, it wants to put out power. It falls over on itself, and one of the first ways that it started manifesting that there was a problem was blown tweeters. Because what happens is that amplifier, it sends out like a 35,000 hertz digital chatter that just bounces. It's Class D, whatever it's called. You know, it's garbage. And if you're using an analog device, an LOC, or anything that's not a DSP, you have all this information outside of your listening threshold, and you couldn't hear it. But your tweeters obviously knew it was going on, because after a 4 or 5 hour drive, your tweeters would melt, because it's just sitting there absorbing this energy from this unstable amplifier. This fixes that. This fixes that. We actually went back, like on our LC7Is, and we actually put a roadblock above 24K. So people have no idea, but because we're a US manufacturer, we can make a real quick change on those boards to help prevent stuff like that from happening. All right? This fixes that stuff.
So if you were using like just an LC7i, like a newer one on one of those board systems, you wouldn't need those anymore? The LGDs?
Here's the question. I'll ask you guys just straight up honestly. If you have a factory amplifier that plays audio, is it good? Have you guys done a system that you're like, oh, this is going to be a kick-ass system. I'm using all the best amplifiers. I'm using all the best gear. And you get in it and the high frequency detail just kind of meh. It's not dynamic. There's no separation. You know what I mean? It's muddy in the mid-range. It's your factory amplifier going to crap on you. And you know, it has several ways that it's going to manifest that it's falling apart, right? So noise floor is one of them. One of them is high frequency detail is going to be lost, particularly if you're trying to sum those unhappy outputs. This will give you an audible difference on a lot of cars out there. Like one of the guys here has a Volkswagen with a Fender system in it, right? Totally high frequency detail came back to his system when he installed these. All right? So don't think of these as, hey, I need these because I'm doing a Chrysler. By the way, who has tackled a non-amplified 2018 Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, or Maserati? Right? The non-amplified stuff need serious resistance. Like 22 ohm 5 watt. Now, what if you put just enough resistance on there to keep the factory amplifier happy, but the high frequency range falls apart? I guess we recommend that you should use this pretty much on anything that's been made in like the last 4 years, whether amplified or not. Because what's the worst thing that could happen? Nothing. It's a filter, right? It's going to sound cleaner in the high frequency detail range. And it puts a couple more bucks in your pocket. It's an attachment cell. Yep.
I think I was texting you about the Maserati a couple months ago, about daisy chaining those on the Maserati.
Oh, yeah. So this is what makes these very unique. All right. So, you know, there's a load generating device. This is what it does. All right, so it's a 2K ohm load to 100 hertz. And the reason you have to do that is because of the heat. All the energy is at 120 to 100 hertz frequency response, right? So if you're applying too much stuff, you're generating a lot of heat. So this actually increases the impedance load up to 20K. All right, so at 20K, it's showing a 39 ohm resistive load to that amplifier. Okay. So this was actually a graph done by Andy Waymeyer that showed exactly how much the impedance graph showed on that circuit. So does that explain why these might not turn on a Chrysler? You can actually put, like, for amplified systems, the 47 ohm, you know, resistors on the front side of this on Chryslers to get them to stay on and be stable. But, you know, don't just figure out what barely gets it by, because if you're barely getting by, that amplifier could still be manifesting problems in other areas. All right, so in conjunction with these, use resistors. The 2018 non-amplified stuff, like 22 ohm, in order to keep those stable on the front side of even these. Okay?
What about using like the 6 ohm resistors? Like the 50 watt 6 ohm resistors?
That's great, but you have to remember, as you increase impedance, you have to increase dramatically wattage handling, right? So now you're going from, you know, like a 22 5-watt on non-amplified. If you're buying them, you know, you might be 50 cents each.
I mean, like in that Dodge with the beat system.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I think.
If you are using 6 ohm 50 watt resistors, you probably don't need the LGD anymore.
Yeah.
All right. But you know, anything like that 22, 47 ohm, I would still recommend using these. And like I said, the worst thing that can happen is you have an attachment cell, right? So 4 channels, 2 stereo channels on these is like 39 bucks retail. That's a pretty good attachment, right? And the worst thing that happens is you get high frequency detail that you might not get without them, you know? So, does that make sense for everybody?
Have you guys had any like noticeable like latency from that signal going in through a filter like that compared to like the speakers it's measuring?
I have not. The only, you know, that would only apply if you had unloaded channels at the same time.
Right.
Or if you had some channels that remained on the factory output, like if you had a center channel that you kept on it, that would be the only time that the latency would ever matter.
Right.
So.
I got a question about those amplifiers that I just look at the 6 channel. Did you guys step away from the diagnostic LEDs also?
The MLILC?
No, like back to the epicenter amplifiers they had diagnostic LEDs on the backside that would.
No, we all have that clip indicator. So
no, I'm saying
the milk circuit is on all of the amplifiers still.
No, the diagnostic with the flashes of the big LED inside. For
If they failed, you mean? Like if they went into protection?
No, do you guys still provide that on the new amplifiers?
Yes.
You guys?
Yes. If you had any issues and one did go into protect, it will flash, and then you can look. It's the same microprocessor in all of them, so it will still flash the same. Yeah.
Now with AudioControl going to like being a software company, are the amps and the processor going to be able to be updated?
Oh yes.
In the shop?
That's the really cool thing. When I talk about the software that we've done, we started shipping DM-RTAs 2.5 years ago, right? And they're all backwards compatible. If you look at like this one right here, I just upgraded this again today. But if you look at this, this is actually painted. So this is one that was built 2.5 years ago. This is actually paint versus powder coat. Powder coat, thank you. All of the product now is powder coat. All right, and so we stopped doing painting on most of them like almost 2 years ago. So the cool thing about all the software and why some of our releases on software related products are, not only do we have to release a new product with the exact same software, but we have to make sure it's backwards compatible through all the previous software iterations, you know? And that takes a ton of work, you know? So when we release one of these new products that plug in, you have to make sure that it works with the 3,000 units you already have out there. And that's the challenge, because anytime you make a change in software, you can't have somebody who's had a system in their car for 3 years and then plug into it and go, oh, it doesn't work anymore, right? I would say as far as like software, truly, I believe that we probably have one of the most successful DSP software launches. We've had to add on more and more features and products and stuff like that, but long term, we've done really well compared to companies who who have been doing DSP for 10 years. You know, we have constantly been looking and updating and making sure that it gets more robust and, you know, less and less connectivity issues and software related issues. So we have a lot of updates, you guys, now that we're on that. We have a lot of software updates, the latest one being the Unity app. The Unity app is, you're not supposed to take it apart.
Brent broke it.
Sean broke it. They're not that easy to get apart or put back together, just so you know.
Well, clearly it's
Was that the
a lot harder to put together.
Like maybe if I break it, I can have it. So yeah, the updates to this stuff has been really powerful and really unique. The latest one being the Unity app, okay? So these have been really, really cool. And one of the cool things about them is that option port. So the option port is something that we developed as our proprietary way to make sure whatever happens in the aftermarket with more and more preamp solutions coming, you know, everything from steering wheel controls to whatever, we wanted a way that those could come in and talk to the DSP. And so that's what the option port was built for. And so we have some really cool stuff that's happening with the option port. And this is one of them. This is the AC BT24. All right, this is really cool. We have been talking about this for a while, but it's been worth the wait to have one piece that is an aptX HD high-res streamer with dual Bluetooth, so one side does HD streaming and the other side does programming. And they're two different Bluetooth, so that means two different apps. So you guys can use this, plug in, and actually do your tuning. All the tuning that we're going to show in the DSP, you can do that wirelessly with this plugged in. But then you leave it in the car and you sell it to the customer for $129, and now they have a high-res solution where they can bypass any analog to digital conversion before it goes to the DSP, and you can stream with that aptX HD directly 2448 directly into the processor.
Can we lock them out of settings so I don't go and mess with timeline?
It's two separate DSPs, so they pair to the audio part just like any audio device.
But they can also pair to the other one too if
they
want,
could,
you don't tell them
but you do have the ability to do a lock, well, not a lockout, because they can call us.
Right.
They can call us and we can get them a default. But yes, you do have the ability to put in your own PIN code.
But you're creating a file for all your customers.
So you can save it.
That's right.
Yep.
And if it's a really smoking tune, you can share it with one of your other stores.
You know, that Mercedes has flax in it, right? If I was a retailer, I would do all my F-150s. I would use one DSP, one set of amplifiers, and try to recommend one set of speakers, and do one tune. But I would charge 2 hours for tune time on every one going forward, and just upload. That's how we can make money and deliver on what we're delivering, you know, promising the customer.
So can you do the stream and the programming at the same time?
Yes. Yes, and you can do that with the DM-RTA as well because it has an option port.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. So this is a really, really cool chipset. It's set apart from anything else that's available because it's the dual Bluetooth chipset, all right, which makes it very unique. So 2448 direct streaming directly into the paired portion of it, and then when you open up the app, all right, so if you're in iOS or Android and you're plugged in, when you open up the app, it'll automatically attach. You don't have to like pair or anything like that. When you open up the app will try to grab onto it. So each one of these is particularly, it has its own signature, so to speak. So you can make sure you're pairing to the right one and logging in. So when you start to do your wireless tune, you'll know exactly which one you're working on. And then just 129 bucks, customer keeps it. You set up your DSP for setting, you know, presets 3 and 4 for direct streaming. And like in my car, I have preset 1 is just single seat car. Preset 2 is upmixed factory. Preset 3 is Bluetooth single seat. Preset 4 is multi-seat Bluetooth. So with the 4 presets in the DSP, you can go through and do those type of settings. That's kind of old, so. Let's talk about, just so you know, if you didn't think there was split EQ, it's absolutely there, we'll show you. All right, this is awesome. So that option port also gives you the ability to use the Maestro AR in the next few weeks. We have just a little bit more work. We're so close to getting this dialed in. The Maestro AR is a cool piece because why could you not remove factory amplifiers before?
Fiber optic. Too much data through the amplifiers.
Yeah. If you were lucky, you could interrupt and get signal, right? but it was always fixed, right? Some cars, up until a couple years ago, you know, you could grab signal, and then you had all these fabricators that were fabricating in these great controllers into places for their DSP, and they would tell the customer, hey, now, you know, look at how beautiful this, you know, $1,600 controller is because I fabbed it in, and it looks incredible, but you can't use your steering wheel controllers anymore, and this is your master volume control. If I had a $150,000 car, I want my steering wheel controls to work. Right? Make sense? Oh, yeah. And so,
I have a $30,000 car.
if you know, it's just one of those things. Like, okay, so we have electronic control panels in cars, right? And then those control panels send out tens of thousands of commands to an amplifier. The amplifier actually holds all your digital, your source material. So door chimes could be built in, navigation, audio is built in, you know, fake noise, engine noise is built in. All that stuff could be built into the amplifier. So we had no ability to get in and tie in to that preamp. The Maestro AR is that solution. You can literally, with the Maestro AR, remove the factory amplifier. My voice is going. You can actually remove this factory amplifier now, okay? So you can grab, you know, say you're doing a Chrysler. You have a Chrysler harness right here. Inside this box is a 3-plug harness. So you take the factory amplifier, you unplug it, and you plug it into this, and then there's a bunch of different connections and stuff like that, but you flash the Maestro AR for what kind of car it is, what kind of amp or DSP you're putting in, all right? And then you can go ahead and plug in with this guy right here. So this is that proprietary 10-pin plug called the DM-Link. So you're going to use a vehicle-specific harness, a Maestro AR, and the DM-Link. And this is going to allow all of these two software platforms to talk together and give you all the information. And we'll show you what that looks like in the DSP as well.
If you do that, you'll lose the Bluetooth option then?
You won't lose anything from the factory. You'll actually...
Well, I mean the adapter.
Yes, yes, because we only have one option port on the product. All right? So, now the nice thing... oh, why? A DMY. Yeah. You know, the nice thing, though, about the Maestro AR is that you are now doing digital information. And so you don't have the analog to digital conversion that could happen a bunch of times when you're doing Bluetooth through the factory and doing through an amplifier. So there is some differences there, and that the ability to have out of the Maestro AR 5 volts of 20 to 20K output is really a powerful, powerful tool. And most of your customers would be pretty happy with the results. All right, so this and the AC-BT24 all work with the DM608, the DM810, and the D6-1200. All right, the D4800, we're looking at adding it, but it's not available right now because of the real estate in the actual amplifier. You know, you guys, we passed around that amplifier. Do you see any room at all for anything else on that sucker? No. Sucker!
There's some room in here.
Yeah, I think
there's some room in here too. Just stuff it.
Oh, right over there?
Yeah, just put it in.
How many guys are doing anything with the Kenwood piece?
Kenwood.
Kenwood?
As far as the amplifier.
Can you get all that information off of
Kenwood makes an amp?
Yes. Yes. For the Maestro, yes. Right now, if you go to flash the Maestro, when you go to flash is when they populate what you can flash it for. All right. So that's you have to go a little bit further into it to see it. Yeah. And we should be in the next couple weeks. It'll be AudioControl will be up there, and that's the only one that's important. So.
Chris, are we going to be able to turn A and C off of that?
All of that stuff. So, with the Maestro AR, you guys, when you plug in, as soon as you plug a Maestro AR into one of our products with the Unity app, it will notice that it's plugged in, and a screen will pop up and says, you are now connected to Maestro. Okay? So it's really simple. How many of you guys, when you're doing integration, are testing every single one of your speakers?
Oh yeah.
Liars! I've been there. The nice thing about Maestro is not you guys, but all the installers that you work with don't have to worry about getting anything out of phase or finding the right signal. Or my favorite is always when somebody says, oh, well, I was summing in this car, and I go, well, why were you summing in that car? It has a full range output. And they go, because I was using an LC7i. Right? I mean, test to know what you're working with, right? That's one of the reasons why the RTA built into all the processors is very compelling, because now you can visually see, hey, I need to sum here, or hey, I'm doing an active setup and my factory system has good response from 2500 up. And you're going to a tweeter, do you need to sum anything else at that point? Not for most applications. So when you do Maestro AR, it says that, and then this is where you assign your outputs. There's a drop down, and you can say, okay, this channel 1 and 2 is, 1 is left front, full range, tweeter, whatever. So you can go through in the drop down and assign for which speaker you're putting in. And that's how it knows where to send the chime information, the bleaker information, the navigation prompts, the backup sensors. Has anybody in this room done like a large SUV?
High country.
Yeah, where the back 3-inch speakers in the back, and you've done an install, and then the customer came back and was like, yeah, I used to have backup beeps.
Yeah, forget that Camaro. Yeah. Take that Camaro somewhere else.
Right? So with the Maestro, you don't have to worry about that. When you assign your outputs, you can assign and make sure that all that stuff is. So if you have an Explorer with 3-inch speakers in the back that your warning chimes come out for your backup sensor, you can pipe those into the rear fill. Right? You don't have to replace those and keep them active unless you really want to increase your tickets and then sell more speakers that they don't need and make their backup chime sound cool. High-res backup chime.
3-inch.
All right. I think most of you are probably here for this.
Yeah.
All right, the DM-RTA is a really cool piece. We have this guy right here hooked up. And now we'll play. Now we'll play with software. How's everybody doing?
I thought it was smoke breaks.
Yeah, breaks probably
Sounds like
good
break
idea.
time.
What time is it? 8:30?
8:30, yeah.
All right, 10 minutes?
Getting uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All right. And then we'll show you the DM-RTA and all the cool stuff. Hours? Yeah. Everybody's ready now? Woo! All right, so it was asked if the software is the same for all the products. This is the software. So right now what we have going is this is the DM-810. It's been active all night, been connected here. This is the beauty of the DM-810 and all the DM products is the built-in RTA, okay? So built into the software, you have the ability to see the response of whatever you're connected to on every single one of your inputs, all right? So right now...
How many of you guys have done DSP?
Nice. So right now what we have is I'm streaming right here to the ACBT24, all right, and I'm coming into the DM processor. As a side note, anytime that you're streaming or using this input for option port or your digital inputs, they come in on channel 7 and 8. All right, so if you're doing a DSP tune and you're looking for your optical input, it's going to populate on input 7 and 8. All right, so if you have an Amp Pro 4 with a digital output, which is really cool, you can come in and go into the DM608 or DM810 with the optical input. All right, what is cool about that? Noise, right? Anytime you have these products from the LC61200 and you're an installer and you're daisy chaining products, you always have the ability to have some kind of a noise problem, whether it's injected through RF or, you know, whether it's a, you guys know how to ground stuff, right? I always, you know, all us manufacturers are always get the same thing. You're like, oh, it's your grounds, right? And if we say that, then you guys instantly shut down.
Yeah.
Right. You got the OBD right. Oh, sorry.
So with this software, this plugs into the D4800, the DM608, the DM810, and now the D61200. This is the user interface. It looks the same on this PC as it does Mac or anything now. It's in the last 2 weeks. The Unity app looks identical for all the products. So right now we're using an 810, and we can come in and say, you know what, I have a full range output. So let me turn this off. Nobody watch my security code.
Too late.
Dang it!
Very secret one there.
Is that still not sexy?
Come in here, we're gonna go okay. Beep noise. All right, so if you're an installer and you're coming in on channel 7 and 8, and you see on your RTA that, what do? You generally get out of the car like, yes, I don't have to work anymore, right? Because what is that telling you? You have a flat full range input. What can you do with flat full range inputs? Whatever you want, right? So that is a powerful tool that's built into the DM processors and the D amplifiers. You have the ability to look at every single one of your inputs and know what you're working with. All right? Once you populate your inputs, so with this you have 8 inputs, you can go into a car and go ahead and hardwire all your inputs and then start looking at which channels you want to use. It's a matrix, so once you populate it, you can pick and choose however you want for every one of your outputs. All right? One of the cool things about the DM processors and the D is that we still leave mono channels for center channel up mixers. All right? It's one of the only DSPs that you can actually grab center channel upmixed information and send it back out to left and right. So you don't necessarily have to replace and keep a center channel, but you can still get the high frequency detail from the upmixer. All right, it's kind of a cool thing. So what that would look like is, say you were coming in center channel here on a factory upmixer, you can go here and say, you know what, I want that to come in, but I want it, let's go 4 dB less. That way when it sums into left and right, it's not going to overpower a left and right separation. Make sense? So that's a really cool feature. Yep.
How is it summing into left and right being a center image? Is it
so
dividing the signal?
What you would do here is if you were coming out on this channel and you actually sum it in, it's going to sum it in, but it's going to be 4 dB attenuated. Okay?
Right. How does it get in from a center to the left and right?
Because it's a mono, so it goes to both.
Oh, okay. All right.
It goes to both when you go into a stereo output with that summed in. Okay?
How often would you want to do that?
It depends on the system. I mean, it depends. If you're doing Logic 7 systems, I would do it all the time. I mean, if you have the ability to do it and use the information, you know, what if navigation prompts come through center channel, right? And you don't, the customer doesn't want to spend the money. They're buying a DSP, but maybe they have a $4,500 budget, right? You throw another channel of amplification into that with a speaker, that could break the price point, right? So this is a nice means that you can get in and have that accessible to you. So you have an input view and an output view. So we know we have full range on 7 and 8. So right here, we're just going to sum 7 and 8 in. So what that looks like is here, right? This is our summing mixer. So we can pick and choose from what we see on input view what we want to do. If we were coming in from a factory tweeter on 1 and 2, and we wanted to go active to a tweeter, we would just click on 1 and 2, right? And then we could look at the frequency response. You know, maybe you would see something that looks like, if you saw something like that, what would you be looking at? Tweeter, right? So the DSP has that built into the software so you can easily get in and see what you're working with. If you have full range in the sum, all you have to do is easily go in and say exactly what you want. You know, sum exactly whatever you need into that signal. So, say you're doing a BMW with a tweeter, right? And you have a good full range input. You can click there and say, hey, I want this tweeter to play 3,000 hertz and up, right? We're going to measure. We're going to say, okay, this speaker is 30 inches away, and this one is 42 inches away. That's it.
Oh, shit.
So there is latency built into the DSP that allows you to not have to think. Up until a couple of years ago when you were doing DSP, inside the owner's manual was a little thing where you would say, okay, this is my closest speaker, this is my furthest speaker, I need to figure out the difference and put it in. All right? With this DSP, it does the work for you. So literally all you have to do is take a tape measure and measure the distance to each speaker and input that number. And it's pretty good. You know, if you need any other adjusting to get the staging right or anything like that, you can handle it in the split EQ and also the split level controller.
If you're doing the integration Maestro with it and you flash it for your make and model, does it already have those measurements for you?
You will see in the output when you're assigning it what you have. You will have a full range output. And then once I disconnect, I can go into Maestro mode and then show you how you can populate. But all of your, you're going to have a full range, the ability to have full range on every single one of your drop downs.
I think he's asking about the measurements.
Oh yeah. Yes, you would still do that because you're basically getting a digital clean stereo input. So yes, you still do it all the same. Now.
That'd be cool.
Well, Maestro doesn't like automatically put the values in because they don't know where your seat's going to be, basically.
Oh yeah.
They're not
Short people, tall people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big car, little car.
So the DSP is really easy and powerful for you guys to get in and do a tune. How many of you guys, I saw all those hands for doing DSP. All of you guys, a good portion of you guys do DSP. How many of you think you can tune a DSP in 45 minutes?
Usually 2 to 3 hours.
You know, one of the cool things with this DSP is, you know, our whole point of creating this DSP is giving you guys a DSP that can do a good portion of the work for you, so that you can deliver what I said: powerful, great sounding, high volume systems that are robust and shippable. All right. There's DSPs out there that are created for your high-res customers who maybe have a $150,000 home system. Maybe that customer wants to drive their car into their garage, turn the engine off, close the garage door, and listen to their stereo system in their car. Maybe that's the 2%. But for everybody else, this should be your go-to DSP, especially when it's built into the amplifiers. Because you can get in, do real quick tunes, you know, charge an hour of tune time, let the DSP do the work for you. There's also something really cool in here called an auto EQ. So you can click on this button and it'll actually do the flattening of the output for you, and it does it on the summed response. It doesn't have to worry about what it does on the input side of it, because it's looking at your summed response and actually fighting to give you a flat response output.
Chris, just one thing, guys. This was designed, all this software, with 30 installers involved in this. So this wasn't us just making it up, and we really spent close to a year probably just talking to installers, learning, buying competitor pieces, understanding the pros and the cons of those pieces. So this is, I think, you know, and I'm not an expert, but this is the most intuitive, all-rounded, go-to piece, I think, on the market today. I'm biased, but I really believe that. You know.
Yes.
So, having an auto EQ feature like that you just showed me, with the DM-RTA, is there going to be a way to basically set up the mic in the car and hit an auto calibrate and have it auto EQ it for us, or no?
There is, we have the capabilities to do some really cool stuff, and we are just starting to talk about those kind of features. And yeah, it is powerful. In the meantime, you know, we have kind of a cool, even right now, a split screen. So you can have the DM-RTA on one side and then the D processor on the other side. So you can go through and acoustically see everything that's happening as well as electronically. So it's a cool split screen thing. I did it the first time on the second day in Colorado with Sean, and how excited was I?
You lost it.
I lost it. I kept on trying to get him to play with the sine wave, because every time I play with the sine, I smile. Sorry. So let the DSP do the work for you guys, and then that's your bass tune. Okay. The bass tune on this is actually pretty darn good for most of our customers, believe it or not. I mean, and I'm not saying that because I'm in your shoes. I'm saying that because I've probably done tuning on a dozen cars sitting at my desk downstairs all over the country. Like, I can get in, if you have pink noise, a tape measure, and Team Viewer on your computer, you can go through and do a real basic quick tune, and I can, in 20 minutes while teaching somebody the software, do a tune, and most of them are like, no, that's awesome, I'm shipping it. You know, so let the DSP do the work.
By the time they call you, they're already shipping.
No, the very first time I did that was for a guy in Laredo, Texas, you know, and it was a Chrysler product, and I've known him for years. They used to make, I talked about the GMR C01. Ventura Technologies was the very first people who made a GM chime interface. And it was his family that did that. He has a retail store in Laredo, Texas now. And I remember just like logging in and doing the tune for him and stuff like that. And he was like one of those guys that's like, no, this is perfect, this is perfect. And then he called me back and he's like, you're kind of a dick. And I'm like, why is that, man? And he's like, because that was probably the best sounding car we've shipped out of here in 15 years. And it was just relying on the DSP to show me what's going on and just doing a bass tune. So what you can do is populate your inputs, look at your inputs, go to the outputs, do summing if you have to, do auto EQ, do your time alignment, and preset all 4 of your presets that way. That's a bass tune. I promise you, if you get familiar with this DSP, you can do that in 35 minutes. I promise you, it's that intuitive and easy once you start. If you're spending more time than that and you're only charging an hour, remember, it's taking you half an hour, but you're charging an hour for the tune, right? If you're spending more time than that for a bass tune, you're overthinking it.
Can you copy and paste them? Or do you have to do them? You can save them.
Yeah, all you have to do is, like, I can just press over and hold. Yes. So now 2 is set at the same thing. So yeah, you can go through and, let me do that. Unless you want sub-pink noise playing. So yeah, you can go through and just press and hold over the top of it, and then that'll save you your presets. All right. You can also, when you plug in the ACR3 controller, you can actually go in here and move presets, and it works. And switch them from 1 to 2. That one's not working. It works in my car.
So where do you go to save the file? If you want to save it later.
If you want to save it?
Yeah, if you want to save it. No, I'm saying like, you know,
Just save it to a file.
like
so
save
then
it
you
to a
can
file so
download
that
it
way
and
you
give
can
it to
like,
somebody else.
yeah.
You go up here and you go Tools, and then
Site file manager. There, in
oh,
the
I'm
middle.
sorry. That's how new this software is. So you can go here and then save as.
Okay.
And so just have a folder on your laptop, and then do last name. You can do last name or vehicle or whatever, and then save it. So this is your dashboard view. So here you can see all of your inputs, all of your outputs, and what you're doing on each one of them. So remember, we're on 7 and 8 to see full range. 1 and 2 is my sub output. 3 and 4 is my full range output. And then 5 and 6 is full range that I'm passing to the DM-RTA right now. All right. So other cool things is now, like when you're on this screen, you can click there to expand. That wasn't there before, so that's kind of a cool thing. And then you have the ability to do the split screen with the DM-RTA. That has a lot of levels to it, like that. All right, so this is where the DM-RTA comes into play. So right now we're just looking at the outputs RCA coming into this, and now you have your 1/3 octave RTA built into this, but then you have that. And so this screen right here for every one of your outputs is where you can go in and start doing some of your, more fine-tuning of EQ bands, and you have both of them full screen for each output. That's pretty cool, right? Is that really cool, or just kind of cool? Yeah, so this guy right here is showing you electronically everything that's going out of the DSP, and then the other piece is showing you audibly what's going on acoustically in the vehicle, right? So that's a really cool thing. So let's go ahead. So this software is the same software for all those things, but let's go ahead and start playing with this guy. Now, actually, I'm going to disconnect, and let's just go. I'm going to disconnect from this guy right now, which is this one. And then we're going to go ahead and drop down and enter ADS mode. Okay? So I wanted to make sure you guys were all up to speed on this ADS mode stuff, because it is a really powerful tool. And what happens when you plug in is it says input gain slider is disabled in ADS mode. Because if you have digitally your full range 20 to 20K signal input, you don't have to worry about inputs. You don't have to worry about the phase and issues and trying to mix inputs. It's all there. It's all digitally embedded, planted, and received, so to speak, into the processor. So this is where it gets really cool. All right. And then on the output, so let's say channels 1 and 2, we're doing active tweeters. We can just come down and say, okay, this is a front left tweeter for active. Or if you're using passive crossovers, right? Front right full. And you don't have to do anything else. It's all there. Isn't that cool? Yeah. I mean, this is seriously hours of time that you're saving with Maestro, right? Hours and hours of time of trying to work through signal and see exactly what you're working with. So if it's an option, if it's a Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Toyota, GM soon, all of those cars, your inputs are done and you have an electronic signal that you're going to be able to work with. You populate the outputs and you say, okay, this guy's a tweeter output, this one is, and it's all there. So, hey, guess what? Remember, let's go to channel 9 output, right? And what if you were doing the center channel? Center full range. Right? So if that customer did have more beyond that $4,500 and you have an extra channel of amplification, there you go. You have it there. All right, so I just want to make sure, because I really believe that the preamp input signal stuff is going to continue to evolve and get better and better and easier to work with, and your systems are going to be much better. Yep.
Can you control the chime volume through there?
You would do it in programming, actually.
Programming. Oh,
yeah.
When you flash it.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch of features that are actually embedded into it. So, like on the Ford that we did, we're just trying to figure out all the ins and outs. So on the Ford we did, you go to speed sense. So in the speed sense setting, you don't have to have an ACR3 controller either, by the way, because you can actually program. So you go into the base setting. If it doesn't have a sub setting from the factory, you go into base setting, and that's your subwoofer level control. You go into the speed sense, and you can recall your presets in the DSP. So it's really cool. In fact, when they did the install for Chris's car down there, we went through and I had them install an ACR3. I didn't tell you this, but I got back here and I was talking to Mark at ADS, and he's like, I was telling him, hey, you know what, the ACR controller is a little bit slow or something like that. And he was like, well, why did you plug in an ACR3 controller? He's like, go sit in the driver's seat and go to the speed sense setting on the radio, and I did, and he's like, those are your presets. So it says off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Default is off as preset 1, you know, and then it's off a little bit right now. We'll get that fixed. So your preset recall in your DSP. So if you have different tunes for different situations, center seat, multi-seat, whatever, you can do all that stuff through your factory radio.
Are they going to be able to push names to them so you can put the name up?
Whoa, buddy, you're going too far.
Come on. Come on, man. That would be an ADS thing, you know. So as that evolves, you know, yeah, I think it's all something that can be done. It's just software at that point. You know, it's just like when SpeedSense started and then they started rolling off. It's just a byproduct. So there's byproducts on all of this stuff that become really cool. So we're looking at, you know, I foresee within the next probably 6 months, we'll have a consumer app. So the ACB224 will actually have a consumer app where they can actually have their preset recalls, bass, treble, balance, fader, all that stuff in an iPhone app where they can't get in and do anything to crossovers or EQ, or maybe we can add some preset EQs. So if you go through and do a tune for somebody, right? So you go through, you do your bass tune, you program it out, and they want to have treble control, so they can open up their consumer app and just go treble up, and it will just take the 10 bands of treble and move it up and down wherever you have it tuned. How badass is that? And it's all just software, you know? So as we get more and more products going and do more and more stuff, there's going to be a lot more cool solutions, you know? So if you're doing an iPad install or something like that, you know, same thing. You can have somebody with just the consumer app, and they have their presets, master volume control, sub volume control, stuff like that in the consumer app. How cool is that? Is that cool? Wait, let's say it's all cool, so Alex will. How cool is that?
Oh my God, how cool is that?
So tomorrow's meeting is going to be like, no, we need to do this now.
So does the D6-1200?
Yes.
Does that have the ability to do center channel on one of those? So you do like a center channel on a 10 or something?
Yes. Yes, you could. But I mean, it's not gonna be very powerful for that 10, you know. But yeah. I'd have to look at the software and see how that's populated, though. Just to be honest, I'd have to look and verify and see. But now that we're not connected, let's go ahead and look at that. So let's pretend we're doing a. Look what you did. D6-1200. Yeah. They are stereo on that one. Yeah. All right, so everybody's cool with Maestro. You guys get it? Do you guys get it? I think it's really important.
Easy.
Easy, right? I think it's cool because honestly, like if you could do a $4,000 system and it takes you 4 hours to do it, is that good money? Hell yeah, that's good money. All right. All right, so let's talk about the DM-RTA, you guys. So the DM-RTA is something that, you know, for where we're at with it and how long ago we decided to do this product, I think it's probably going to be the most important test tool in your box, because it's got what typically, if you went to Mobile Solutions last weekend and you spent 3 days there going over anything, at the end of all of his sessions, he talks to you about the tools you need to do your job, right? How many guys have been there? Right? He always talks about the tools you need to do your job, correct? Yeah. All right. The tools you need to do your job is he said, okay, you need at minimum, what is it, a PAA3, right? TPI 440, right? Oh great, now we got to get new carpet. Just kidding. a TPI 440 handheld oscilloscope. How much does he sell face checkers for? I almost put everybody off.
150 bucks.
Right? 150 bucks for a face checker. And then all of you guys have multimeters, right?
What's that?
But, okay, how many of you guys use an RTA regularly? Oh.
How often is regular?
Anytime you're trying to figure out if you need to sum or not. All right, you probably should.
Probably.
Yeah. Hey, just so you know, everything we talk about, all this product, it doesn't matter if it's this product or any other product, it's only as good as the install, right? So let's take this seriously. Like, this tool is something you guys need. All right? It's really important, and it gives you access to see exactly what you're working with, both visually, electronically, and acoustically. Yep.
So the power supply to that is, can you run it off 12 volts, or you have to have an outlet? Oh, what?
So there is a built-in battery in this. Runtime is going to be 3 to 5 hours, depending on use. So all you have to do, watch, check this out. This is cool. So you have somebody who comes in, right? They come to you and they go, man, I got this system installed and it sounds like crap. All you have to do is come, grab this piece right here, take your microphone, plug it in, right? You can strap that to the headrest. Strap on, you're used to that.
Hey, I know it's
And now you have the ability, so right now we're electronically seeing what's going on, or acoustically seeing what's going on, right? So how cool is that, that you have the ability to just have something, and when you're doing your tuning, all you have to do is put that right there, right on the headrest, right? Strap it right on there, and you got your probe, and everything you need.
That's the best way to make more money. There you go.
Right there. So this is something that's really cool, and you have the ability to plug in the ACBT24. So if you were, say you wanted to, check this out.
So we don't have to listen to the kick noise? That's nice.
You just close it.
It's on the screen.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. So look. So the user interface is exactly the same, like I was saying. So you could have your iPad, and then you can come in here and plug in your ACBT24. I hope I plug it in the right way. I don't think that was the right way.
Are they keyed?
Oh, the magic smoke got released.
All right, so I just plugged that in. So RTA. So you guys, let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about the inputs and outputs. Okay, I'm getting all over the place because I'm doing questions and everything else. So we built in everything into this, and it all loops in and out for you guys. If you have a customer who keeps on frying subwoofers, take this out, power it up on the battery, right? Unplug your RCAs, plug that in here, then loop a new RCA back out to the subwoofer and use the oscilloscope. And find out where the distortion is, show the customer. This is why you keep on blowing woofers. This is why you need a bigger amplifier, right? If you want more bass, you need a bigger amplifier, because see that where it starts to go bad on you? You can't have that, otherwise your woofer is going to get smoked, right? This is a powerful tool. So you can loop everything in and out. When you're doing your programming, it's a dual Bluetooth chip. So you can program and stream directly into that. So let me go ahead and pair to this.
When's the app going to be available? I know you said the other day.
So you can pair to it, and then you can start streaming. So right now, I am Bluetooth connected to it, and then let's see if I have. input. I might not.
You sleeping or?
I think I paired to the wrong one.
Flying up on your phone.
Fire. Just like that one.
That speaker level input on that.
Yes.
What's the voltage?
Up to 40 volts.
Didn't you mute it earlier on the other side?
Yeah, I probably did. All right, so you have the ability to loop in and out. So you can loop in and out and use your oscilloscope for your sub applications, okay? You can go speaker level input, and then as far as outputs go, you have an RCA output, and then here's all your digital outputs. So there is optical, okay, coax, and then a USB digital audio output. All right, that's cool, because now you can plug into like a Chrysler that only has USB audio input now, right? So you can plug into that and start streaming all your test tones and all that stuff. They're going to be built into this. So not only do you have that battery built in, but there's a USB stick in there that has all of your chime not chime information, but your polarity clicks in it, your sine waves, and your peak noise. All right? So in the app, you have the ability to go in here and say, okay, I want to start playing pink noise, and then it'll start coming out of all those outputs. Or if you go to the polarity checker, you can go here and say, click start, you know, and it'll actually start populating the clicks to all of those outputs, and then you can hold the microphone right up to the speaker and make sure that it's all there. All right? So there's a lot of stuff built into here that is everything that you guys need for doing all your testing. All right? It's a really cool piece. For the price point, if you went to Mobile Solutions and bought all that stuff, you're $1,800 bucks.
Available when?
We should be shipping
4 weeks, 6 weeks.
6
price point.
How much is it? Yeah.
$500 bucks.
Yeah, that's Christmas present right
Is that
there.
on accommodation?
You buying?
Under accommodation, it's $500 bucks. So we are going to have a retail on it for, you know, some places want to have it as a resale, so it's only $650 retail. It's $500 employee cost. Most everybody that sees it or witnesses it just is going to buy it anyways, you know, because it's part of your arsenal.
We have about 150 pre-orders already, just people putting up pre-orders.
We have 150 written down. There's like way. Yeah. That was just Knowledge Fest. All right, you guys. So again, you guys, like, we really appreciate you guys being here. It's a big deal. There are brochures downstairs on the front counter for all the different products if you need any more information. Again, you guys, I had my information up there. If you want to use it, please reach out to me. On Facebook, it's the dealer, AudioControl Dealer and Rep Group. And then we do have a few giveaways.